I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel like we're in prison. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. Tired of the madness, done with the sadness. Gonna break free and be unleashed.
Hello, I'm Deidre Beecham, Visibility Catalyst and recovering nice girl.
And I'm Jenny Baddig, the Inner Space Engineer, and welcome to Unleashed AF, the podcast where we help you own your greatness and unleash your authentic self. Today, you want to say the topic?
You can go.
I was just jumping right in, man. I was like,
I'm sorry. Today our topic is why we get stuck in life, understanding patterns of behavior. I think this is going to be interesting and a great add-on from last week. But before we dive in, a little bit about each of us. I work with soulful women to annihilate their nice girl training, speak with power, and just get shit done.
And as an inner space engineer, drawing on my background as a human factors engineer and a hypnotherapist, I help rewire your mindset so that you can unlock your true potential. And as always, we love hearing from you. So drop your thoughts and questions in the chat or comments, and let's make this a dynamic and ongoing conversation. If you have a topic idea or question for us, you can actually go to our website, which is unleashedafpodcast.com, and you can go to the WWJDD page. That's what would Jenny and Deidre do? And you could submit a topic or question there. You can also go to a page on the website to fill out an application to be a guest on our show. If there's a story, if you have a personal story or experience that you think our listeners and watchers would appreciate and benefit from. So let's jump in.
So let's go ahead and jump into our topic today. Getting stuck in patterns of behavior. And we have certainly experienced that ourselves. I know that our audience has certainly experienced that. And it's never fun when you get stuck in a pattern. And
Right.
what are kind of some of the things that you recognize when people come into your office? How do you know that they're stuck in a pattern?
Well, actually, quite often, by the time they've decided to come into me, they're aware that they're stuck. So it becomes pretty obvious at that point. I think some of my friends or people that I've known, or once they find out I'm a hypnotherapist, I think they fear that I'm trying to figure out if they're stuck just in any conversation. So I'm not like constantly scanning for stuckage in people, but there are certainly just a general like low mood. If you just feel kind of about ready to give up, or it doesn't matter what I do, things don't seem to be getting better. So some of it comes through the language that people are using, their body language, just their general vibe. If it feels like they're some people end up getting like a low energy, I think, when they feel stuck. Other people feel like they're bouncing off the walls because they're stuck. So it can look different for different people. But
yeah, and I think sometimes there's we have talked about this before, and I don't know if we've talked about it on air or offline only, but the concept of 3 different types of people, right? So you have your and it's all based on video games. So if you have ever played a role-playing game, this will all make sense to you. But you have your NPCs, right? Your non-playable characters. And those are the characters in a game that they're on a routine, right? They have a set routine that they go on. They're always in the same place. Anytime you go to a town, they're always there. You know where to find them because they have a routine that they follow. And it's always the same. And the only time it changes if you interact with them. And you interact with them for a little while, and then that pattern stops. But as soon as you leave them, they go back to the same old pattern. That's an NPC. Yep. And that happens in real life. I've been an NPC before. We all are NPCs at some point until we decide to change. And then you have your main character, and your main character's like, oh, I don't want to be an NPC anymore. I want to do something, and I want to go to these different towns, and I want to interact with people, and I want to make things happen. But you're still stuck in the game. Right? You're still in the game. And then the third level is the creator, the one that actually makes the game, right? The creator makes that game and makes it so that other people can participate in this game. And that's the creator level. And at any of these places, you can be stuck. You can get stuck as a main character. You can get stuck as a creator. The beautiful thing is that hopefully by the time you've gotten to main character or creator, you've learned some things in order to be able to get yourself out of these patterns of behavior.
Right.
But I know one of the things that gets me stuck is I start desiring comfort. And then it's really easy to get stuck in whatever pattern you have because you're comforted.
Yeah.
But I will also say, and I know that you've experienced this as well, Jenny, is that you can be comfortable, and I've had clients that have the same thing, where you can be comfortable with something that's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Because sometimes it's the fear of change and the unknown that seems less comfortable than whatever pain you're going through where you are. So absolutely. And it's one thing to just look at it as, oh, I feel comfortable, so why would I want to change? But the other side of that is not so much I feel comfortable where I am, but something else might feel less comfortable. If something feels more scary or more unknown or more risky or just whatever, that's when, even though you may not feel comfortable, you might not use the word comfortable to describe where you are. It's not as scary, not as risky as the alternative. And so you stay where you are.
Yeah. And even if it feels miserable where you are,
Right.
I'll use myself as an example. I was in a situation where I just could not figure out. I knew I was stuck, but I didn't know how I was stuck or what I was stuck with. I just knew that I kept self-sabotaging, and that's how it showed up. It showed up as self-sabotaging, but I couldn't figure out why I was self-sabotaging. But the entire reason I was self-sabotaging was because even though where I was uncomfortable, it's what I knew.
Yeah.
It's what I knew. And while this other part of me was wanting to change and wanting to go on to bigger and better things, the core part of me was like, no, that's an unknown. That's scary. At least, we're uncomfortable here, but we understand this. I understand what's going on here. And that can be happening subconsciously. And that's the most difficult thing. And that's why I'm such a huge proponent of what it is that you do. I think that's why I'm such a huge proponent of subliminal. My brain just went, we're not talking today. That's why I'm such a huge proponent of subliminal messaging and cut. That's why I'm a huge proponent of subliminal messaging and subliminal messages, because that's where everything's happening. That's where all that stuff is happening. And if you can get to those core things and start changing those core beliefs about what is going on inside your system and start expecting more for yourself. Expecting more for yourself is huge.
Yeah. And I think there's different ways that we end up realizing that we are stuck, because sometimes we can convince ourselves that, hey, this is great. I love being this NPC. It's simple. I don't have to spend a lot of energy trying to figure out how to get to the next town or whatever. This is cool. But I remember as we were just kind of going through this, a story came up that I thought, wow, that really applies here. So let me share that. Way back, probably almost 20 years ago now, I remember I was happily, well, we'll put happily in quotes, working for, a big corporation as an engineer, making good money. I was playing volleyball, which is something I love to do. I, had a house, had a dog. Like I was pretty happy, or so I thought. And I remember after playing volleyball at an open gym or something, I was talking to a guy that I dated back in college, and he said, "You're not happy." And I thought, what, why would I not be? What do you mean I'm not happy? And it bothered me at first. And I thought, well, he was just being a jerk. But as I look back now, I think he knew me before I started working in a large corporation, and I never really had any interest in working in a large corporation.
Mhm.
Um, I wanted to be more independent. I wanted to be more one-on-one to help people in more meaningful ways than just some big conglomerate kind of thing. And so I think that was really what he was looking at. And I had ignored that for a while because I thought,
Right.
well, hey, I'm making money. I guess I didn't know how good it could be to work for a corporation. But now that I've left that lifestyle, I go, oh, maybe he was kind of right. Like I had a certain level of happiness, but I really was stuck in that. And it wasn't like it was some horrible, it wasn't like an abusive relationship or something, but it was, I wasn't truly happy. I was allowing myself really to be stuck in that, oh, this is good enough success for me. This is good enough lifestyle for me. Why should I search for more? And so, sometimes it takes that outside perspective of someone kind of alerting you to, I don't think you're really as happy as what you're saying you are, or I don't think you're really where you want to be.
It reminds me of, I went up to a speaker, this was years ago, and I went up to a speaker, she was fantastic. And after she presented, and I said, that was fantastic. I would love to be speaking like you are. And she said, why aren't you?
Yeah.
I realized that everything that I could come up with was an excuse. Everything I came up with was an excuse. So why wasn't I? Why wasn't I? And sometimes it takes those questions, like you said, there's something from somebody else that says, well, why aren't you doing that?
Yeah.
Or you're not really happy.
Exactly.
And it's time to fix those things. And one of the things that I know that you have done in the past and still do, which is doing vision boarding. And I know that you did a vision board for us. I've talked about this before. You walked me through vision boarding, and it was in a group. I wasn't the only one you were doing it with. It was a group of us, but it was the most clarifying vision boarding I've ever gone through. And I know that's something that you are doing again, right? Coming up for the new year.
Yeah.
And you want to go ahead and talk about your epic envisioning?
Yeah. Well,
right?
let's go ahead and I'll run the spot first, and then I'll kind of fill in the gaps afterwards. So
yeah, that'd be great.
Are you tired of chasing dreams that never seem to materialize? Have you tried things like vision boards or just writing your goals on Post-it notes and leaving them around the house, but still not getting what you really want? It's time to engage your subconscious superpowers and take control of your future. An epic envisioning workshop will help you gain clarity on your goals, develop actionable steps to achieve them, and overcome obstacles and stay motivated. Join us and discover the power of intentional living. Transform your vision and dreams into reality. Go to hypnohuddle.com to see which workshop works best for you and register today. Take the first step toward one of the best investments you'll ever make. You deserve this. Yeah, so.
And we've lost Jenny. She's been having some glitches on this morning. And we did just lose her. But if you go
over
to
the years that
oh, there she is.
all
yes.
kind of
Okay,
act
so
similarly.
Jenny's back.
You get
Hang
like
on,
a poster board
Jenny,
or some big piece
hang
of
on,
paper.
Jenny.
Yeah.
Jenny, you've been gone. So I was just talking to you about how Hypno Huddle is the place to go. But since the advertisement ran, you disappeared. And I've just been talking about how hypnohuddle.com is where to go. So you can go ahead and start saying whatever it is you were trying to say while you had glitched.
All right. Technical issues. Yeah. So what I was saying was I've been to several different put on by different people or organizations, vision boarding type of workshops in the past where they all kind of ran similarly. And it's not that it's a bad thing, but I just didn't feel like I got as much out of them as you could. It was just show up, you get like a poster board or something like that. You cut pictures out of magazines, glue them or tape them onto your poster board, take it home, put it up somewhere in your house, and just hope that things happen. And the more I got involved with doing the work that I do with clients, I realized, man, that doesn't really take into account a lot of the things that can come up that you can actually have a little more control over with your subconscious, because it doesn't really engage that much at all other than just seeing what you want to achieve. Um, and as we said, I think I did mention last week or maybe the week before that the more senses you use, the better it's going to be. The more quickly your mind can kind of draw you towards what it is that you're wanting. So part of what I've incorporated in what I'm calling an epic envisioning experience, which is online, it's a virtual thing, hour and a half to 2 hours. And it's interactive so that we can really work through some stuff and get you on the right track. There's also follow-up stuff that we can do to make sure that you're staying accountable, or I can help you out with certain areas if you need it. But it's about, well, the quick little ditty I came up with was write it, see it, say it, hear it. Right. So if with a vision board, you're really just seeing it. But if you're writing stuff out and then seeing it, like reading what you've written, if you're saying things, like repeating things about what you want to happen, and then you're hearing yourself, or you record it and then you just listen to, something that's telling you about what you want to achieve, future casting, things like that. It all just goes into building more and more weight, I guess, on the side of the things that you want to happen versus just kind of floating along and allowing the universe to kind of toss you around and do whatever it wants with you. So the process is more involved in getting your subconscious on board and being more intentional and getting clarity around what's really important to you. Because a lot of times, for example, there were several times when I did a vision board in the past where I'm like, oh, I want to go on another cruise next year. So I would just find a picture in a magazine somewhere of either a beach or a cruise ship or something like that and slap that on my my vision board. And that was kind of it. But it's not even so much that it would have to be a cruise per se. I just enjoy the feeling of being, on a beach somewhere, like disconnected. It's warm, it's sunny, it's breezy. Those are the things I really want. Doesn't really matter to me if it takes a boat to get me there. But, when you let go of kind of those specifics and allow yourself to get into like the deeper level of what do I really want to get out of that? What's the feeling I'm looking for from that? That's when it can actually be way more powerful to have it come to you instead of hooking on to a specific way that it could come to you. Get clear about what you want the result to be. And so that's a lot of what goes into the process that I walk people through in this workshop. And I've done it. I just started doing it like last year, the year before. Yeah, I think a couple of years ago is when I started doing it. Done it for several people. They really enjoyed it. And so it is a really nice way to, like I said, just
I think the reason that people enjoy it so much is because it is different, Jenny. I know I enjoyed it so much because it made my brain happy because it has more direction and filled in all the places that I really don't think it covered in other vision boarding. So
right.
we put the web address there, hypnohuddle.com.
Yep.
Please check it out if you are looking to make a difference in your next year. My gosh, go ahead and please check that out. And then this is a long list of the types of fixes that you can do to get out of these patterns of behavior. Certainly vision boarding. Jenny also mentioned future casting, which we talked about last week. And also, making a decision and taking action. We've talked about this so many times before. That was the big thing that was missing from The Secret, is that you have to take action. It's one thing to think about it and do the processing that you need to do. That's great. But you also have to take action. Nothing happens unless you actually take the action.
Right.
And I love that whole saying, the write it, see it, say it, hear it, Jenny. I think that's great.
Yep. Yeah, and that doesn't even incorporate as much of the action. Those are small actions you can do to engage the senses, but taking action is more like living as if it's already happened. it's that kind of action that can be extremely powerful.
Yeah, I think the thing that I didn't really grasp in, wanting to improve myself, wanting to be in a different place. I didn't really grasp until like the last year just how much of that goes into, or what is needed is belief in yourself. Not a
Mhm.
belief in the idea, not in a belief that this is going to work, not in a belief that this works for somebody else and so it'll work for me. None of that. Do I believe I can make this happen?
Right.
Do I
And that
believe
you're
in
worthy of
me?
it. Yeah.
Yes. And then am I worthy of the results of me doing this?
Right.
And those are the types of things that have to be addressed. I really miss that in all of the years that I did therapy and all the years that I've been coached and all of the years that I've done self-development. I really didn't understand just how much belief I had to have in myself and and acceptance of, I don't know, the darker shadows of who I am, because
Mhm.
those were the things that brought me shame, or in my head brought me shame, or I
Yeah.
thought were shameful. And believing in yourself and loving yourself beyond all of that is such a huge, huge part of that. And that wasn't necessarily the focus of today's talk, but um, it is a huge part of getting out of, for me, I understand now for myself, getting out of those patterns of behavior. A huge part of that is I have to believe in me. And it doesn't matter if everybody else believes in me. If I don't believe in me, it's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah. And I will say, looking back, I know a lot of people struggle with the limiting self belief issue from the perspective that they didn't have a lot of support growing up, whether they were, I don't know, in a family where there were like a ton of siblings. And so there just wasn't enough time to give focus to them and support their desires or whatever. Or if it was maybe not the best family situation, just the parents weren't able to handle being supportive or positive. I didn't really have
Mhm.
that challenge growing up. Um, but I think an example of where I've felt like I was stuck, like I said, being in a corporate environment, it felt like, oh, that's a safe place to be, because that was sort of the programming from my family and upbringing, just it's
Sure.
safer to have a job where they're going to, give you a retirement plan and all this other stuff. And not having an example that was close to me that I really knew a lot about of being an entrepreneur or being, independent in terms of your business and your income and really defining it. When you step into that type of change and that type of control over your life, it's amazing. You don't realize how much control you were relinquishing outside of you, right? I
Yes.
mean, the corporate job can rob you, can like eat at your soul sometimes, because you just feel so almost like a slave to them or something, where you have to, you're like, if I don't do this, I could get fired. And oh my God, what's going to happen? And it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
such
really,
a
yeah,
feeling when you step out of that.
it is. And it can be scary at first because you're not used to that kind of freedom. You're not used to, relying on your own personal creativity.
Hmm.
Um, because one of the things that corporations, capitalism, patriarchy tries to take away from you is there's a
Yeah.
separation from you, from yourself, and from your creativity. And just real quick, this is something that happened to me recently. We are going to do a short show today, so we're wrapping up and coming to the end of it today. But I got a contract. A friend of mine needed some video work done, and I love what she's doing. It's all about helping to teach young women, from children through teenage years, how to protect themselves and how to build up their self-esteem, to protect themselves from perpetrators. And I love what she's doing. And so I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to help her out. She was looking for a videographer. And while I don't do that as a main part of my business anymore, I still have the ability to. And so I told her I would do this. Well, we shot 75 videos in 2 weeks. And now I have to edit. I'm not the final editor. I'm just the first stop. And so I just have to do all of the audio work. So I'm doing all the audio work and making sure the audio works great with the video. And then that's going off to an editor who is going to edit those things for release. Well, I have to gotta get those all out. And so I have been working constant, just nonstop. All I do is edit videos, and I've been doing it every single day for almost a week. Well, it's been a week now. And I have noticed my spirits going down. I have noticed I'm exhausted. I am tired. And it's not that I'm working more. It's that none of it is creative right now. Nothing I'm doing is creative. The creativity part's all done. Now it's just, I'm basically a robot going through, which is what corporate life was like. I mean, I haven't worked in corporate since 2006, let's say. So I have been out of corporate for a long time, and it is, I've gotten that feeling. And I was telling Myra yesterday, or this morning, actually, I was telling her, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. So tired right now. All I want to do is sleep. And I think that's one of the things that corporate does to you, is that it's just this constant role of difficult, or things that separate you from yourself.
Yeah.
And then it's exhausting if you aren't able to tap into that aspect of yourself.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, it's just been interesting going back into it, realizing that with all of that happening, it's even more important to keep myself grounded and to listen to uplifting things. But that can be tough when it's always like that.
Yeah. And I think in addition to having an opportunity to do things that are more fulfilling for you, like having more creativity and stuff like that, it's also helpful to have, well, if you're in the process of trying to break out of a pattern and go into something that's going to be more comfortable or more positive for you, it can be extremely helpful, I think, to have someone that you can look to, a mentor that can kind of help you into that spot. Or even, that's part of why I think in so many situations now, people are talking about having representation. If someone doesn't see someone that either they identify with in some way, whether they look like them or feel like them or sound like them or whatever, already accomplishing and being successful at something, it's very hard to see yourself being able to be successful or accomplish that. So that can be part of what goes into limiting beliefs as well. Not necessarily that somebody's putting you down, but if you haven't
having examples. Yeah.
If you haven't seen,
I think that's why groups are so powerful. I think that is why groups are so incredibly powerful, finding the right groups to be a part of. And that's one of the things that Jenny and I have been talking about. So keep tuned, because we are talking about getting a group together that would be beneficial. But did you have anything else you wanted to add before we wrap today up, Jenny?
Well, I don't think anything else with the topic per se, but we know that election day is coming up. There may still be some early voting that's going on in different places. I think here in Florida, or Brevard County anyway, early voting ends tomorrow, and then election day is Tuesday. So,
it's
if you're
the same
still
here, voting ends tomorrow here as well.
Okay. Yeah. If you're looking for information on some of the topics, I would think most people by now have enough information on the major elections going on. But in terms of the different amendments and things like that might be a little more local to you, League of Women Voters has a lot of good information. I think AARP actually has some good information as well, for those of us of that age. That is it really felt pretty even in terms of not biased one way or the other. They just presented the information. No commentary on good, bad, or just here it is. So that's what I would say. Make sure you get out there and vote so that you don't feel like you're stuck in a rut, and have no control over your future.
Yeah, at least go out and vote. If you enjoyed today's episode, please spread the word, subscribe, follow, share. Don't forget to visit us at unleashedafpodcast.com and go to WWJDD, which is What Would Jenny and Deidre Do? If you have a topic suggestion, question, or if you want to be a guest, please visit our site. Next week, maybe we'll be here, maybe we won't. So next week we had every intention of being here. However, I'm going to be going out of town, and I don't know if I'm going to have access. I did get my international minutes,
Okay.
but we're just going to have to hang in and see. It definitely won't be a live show. If there is a show, it will be recorded and then uploaded. But because it is going to be about the election, and if we do show up, we will have a response to the election. And our topic is going to be how to break out and step into freedom, tangible tools for lasting change. If it doesn't go up next week, we will have a brand new show the following week when I do get back into town.
That's right.
But anyway, anything else, Jenny?
No, I think we're good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us today. And until next time, which may be next week, it may not be, we'll definitely be back and see you sometime in the next 2 weeks. Until then, get unleashed AF. Take care.
I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel like we're in prison. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck.